The moment her crutches slipped, the sound they made against the tiled diner floor was sharp and unforgiving, like a crack of thunder in a place meant for comfort. Time seemed to slow as her body followed, knees buckling, palms scraping uselessly against the black and white tiles. Around her, laughter echoed, too loud, too careless, until it wasn't laughter anymore, but something colder. Something cruel. In that single instant, as pain flared through her injured leg and humiliation burned hotter than the sting in her skin, she realized that for some people, kindness was a luxury they believed money could replace. Before the story pulls you any deeper into that diner and the lives colliding inside it, take a second. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in standing up for those who can't always stand for themselves, then like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this matter only when they are heard. Her name was Emily Carter, and she had learned early in life how fragile dignity could be. The injury that left her dependent on crutches had come 2 years earlier, the result of a hit-and-run accident on a rainy night when she was walking home from her job at a grocery store. The driver was never found. The bills piled up faster than her body could heal, and the dreams she once had of becoming a physical therapist faded into something quieter, something more practical, survival. On this afternoon, all she wanted was a cup of coffee and a warm meal, a small break from a life that constantly reminded her of what she had lost. The diner was familiar, affordable, and usually safe. She never saw the shove coming. One moment she was carefully navigating the narrow space between booths, focusing on balance, on breath, on the simple act of moving forward. The next, a sharp force struck her shoulder from behind, deliberate and impatient. Her crutches twisted awkwardly, one skidding away as she fell. Pain shot up her spine, but worse than the physical agony was the sound of mocking surprise from above her. The rich couple who had shoved past her barely paused. They were polished, dressed in expensive clothes that screamed success, irritation etched across their faces as if her presence alone had offended them. Emily sat there on the floor, heart pounding, cheeks burning, struggling to pull herself upright. Her injured leg throbbed, reminding her how vulnerable she was, how quickly the world could turn hostile. People watched. Some looked away. Others stared with uncomfortable curiosity. No one moved. The rich couple complained about being delayed, their body language dripping with entitlement, as if the inconvenience of her fall mattered more than the human being now trembling on the floor. For Emily, this wasn't just about the pain or the embarrassment. It was the familiar, crushing realization that society often measured worth by speed, strength, and status, and she fell short in all three. She had been shoved aside before, metaphorically and literally, but something about this moment felt heavier, as if all the silent humiliations of the past 2 years had condensed into one unbearable scene. Then the bell above the diner door rang. At first, no one paid attention. But as heavy boots crossed the threshold and stopped, a shift rippled through the room. The man who had entered carried himself with a calm intensity that commanded space without demanding it. He wore a simple jacket over a military uniform, his posture straight, his presence grounded. At his side walked a German shepherd, alert but controlled, eyes scanning the room with quiet intelligence. The dog's leash was loose, a sign of deep trust between handler and companion. This was Lieutenant Daniel Reeves, a Navy SEAL home on leave after his final deployment. The weight he carried wasn't just in his broad shoulders but in his eyes that had seen chaos, loss, and the cost of looking away. The German shepherd beside him, Max, was more than a working dog. Max had saved Daniel's life overseas, pulling him from rubble after an explosion, staying with him through long nights of pain and recovery. They understood each other without words. Daniel immediately noticed Emily on the floor. Training had taught him to read situations quickly, to recognize distress in a heartbeat. But this wasn't a battlefield. This was a diner. And yet, the injustice felt just as sharp. He saw the crutches, the way her hands shook as she tried to gather them, the way the couple standing nearby radiated indifference. Something hardened in his chest, not anger exactly, but resolve. The atmosphere shifted as people realized they were no longer anonymous witnesses. Daniel's presence alone changed the energy in the room, but it was the way Max stood, protective yet calm, that made everyone suddenly aware of their own inaction. The rich couple stiffened, their confidence wavering as they sensed judgment that money couldn't buy. Emily felt it too. She looked up, expecting more indifference, and instead met eyes that held concern without pity. For the first time since she fell, she didn't feel invisible. Daniel moved with deliberate care, kneeling to her level, his focus entirely on her, as if the rest of the room no longer existed. Max stayed close, a quiet guardian, his warm presence grounding in a way words couldn't be. As Emily was helped back to her feet, supported not just physically but emotionally, something inside her shifted. She wasn't weak for needing help. She wasn't less for being injured. She was human, and she deserved respect. Around them, the diner seemed to exhale, people stirring with discomfort, guilt, and something like admiration. The rich couple's earlier arrogance crumbled into awkward silence, their status meaningless in the face of quiet integrity. But this story wasn't about humiliation turning into public spectacle. Daniel didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. His actions spoke louder than any confrontation. He stayed with Emily, ensuring she was steady, that she wasn't hurt beyond what she could manage. He listened as she explained, in halting breaths, how things like this happened more often than people realized. How the world wasn't built for those who moved more slowly. Daniel understood that kind of struggle. After his last mission, he had watched teammates learn to walk again, seen strong men wrestle with scars no one could see. Disability wasn't weakness. It was reality. And reality deserved compassion. As they sat together, the diner returned to its rhythm, but something fundamental had changed. Strangers who had looked away now glanced over with softer expressions. A server brought water without being asked. Small gestures, but powerful ones. Emily felt a warmth spread through her chest that had nothing to do with the coffee she never got to order. Daniel didn't see himself as a hero. He never had. To him, stepping in was as natural as breathing. But to Emily, that moment was transformative. It reminded her that kindness could still interrupt cruelty, that strangers could become lifelines, even if only for a moment. She found herself sharing more than she intended, her struggles, her fears, the exhaustion of constantly proving she deserved space in a world that rushed past her. Max lay at Daniel's feet, watching her with gentle eyes, his presence a silent promise of safety. Animals, Emily thought, understood vulnerability better than most humans. They didn't judge brokenness. They responded to it. As time passed, Daniel prepared to leave. Duty called him elsewhere, back to a life of service that few fully understood. Before he went, he made sure Emily had what she needed, not just help getting to her seat, but reassurance that what happened to her mattered. That she mattered. He didn't offer platitudes or promises. He offered respect. When the door closed behind him and Max, the diner felt different. Emily sat alone, but she wasn't lonely. She replayed the moment again and again, not the fall, but the hand reaching out, the steady presence, the reminder that humanity still existed in unexpected places. That day became a turning point. Emily started speaking up more, advocating for herself and others like her. She volunteered with a local support group, sharing her story not as a tale of victimhood, but as one of resilience and the power of intervention. She learned that while she couldn't control the cruelty of others, she could amplify the kindness she had received. For the people in that diner, the memory lingered too. Some would forget. Others would remember the discomfort of their silence and do better next time. That was how change worked, not all at once, but moment by moment, choice by choice. If this story is touching something inside you right now, if you feel that quiet ache that comes from recognizing both the cruelty and beauty of humanity, please take a moment near the end of this video to like, comment, and share it. Your engagement helps stories like Emily's reach the people who need them most. And before this story closes, I want to ask you something personal. Please comment below with one word that describes how this story made you feel. One word can carry more weight than you think. Emily never saw Daniel again. She didn't need to. His impact stayed with her, woven into the way she moved through the world with a little more courage, a little more hope. Somewhere else, Daniel continued his journey, Max at his side, stepping into new rooms, new moments where silence might need breaking. The world didn't change overnight. Rich couples still rushed. People still fell. But sometimes, when cruelty tried to claim the floor, kindness walked in instead, steady, unannounced, and powerful enough to lift someone back to their feet.